Brown bears once occurred throughout Europe. Today they are present in less than 5% of the European territory, mostly in mountainous areas with a total population of about 17,000 individuals. The area animals occupy and the number of animals are commonly used to assess the conservation status of wildlife populations, which is an indicator of how well the species is doing and how likely the population will persist in the near future. However, these assessments rarely provide information on animals' health. The BearHealth project aims to assess the health status of brown bear populations by integrating parameters indicative of health condition and to evaluate how human influence on the environment affects them. The expansion of agricultural areas into forests, urban sprawl, road building, growing tourism in natural areas, pollution, hunting, or increased access to human foods are all human activities that may have important impacts on the health of animals. This human-shaped environment can affect stress levels, immune response, nutritional status, and exposure to pathogens and toxicants in bears. All of these parameters interact and affect each other. By integrating these indicators, we sought to obtain a health index of individuals and populations. This index can be incorporated into the assessments of conservation status. One way how humans interfere with the health of animals is by feeding them. Here we will focus on the effects of the practice of artificial feeding of wildlife, which is very common in some countries. In Croatia, bears are intensively fed with corn and beetroots to facilitate hunting from elevated blinds. In Poland, bears are not hunted, but they also feed on artificial food provided for game animals, such as red deer and wild boar. The amount of artificial food provided can be substantial in some areas and certain periods. Feeding sites can be places of high exposure and contagion risk, as many animals of different species concentrate repeatedly in the same area. They often defecate and urinate at those feeding sites, are in physical contact with each other, and pathogens can spill over from one species to the other, as may have happened with the coronavirus causing COVID-19 disease. We compared the pathogen load in soil from feeding sites in Poland and Croatia with soil from control sites. We also investigated the parasite load based on scats collected from two bear subpopulations in Poland: the Tatra Mountains, where there is no artificial feeding, and the Bieszczady Mountains, where bears widely rely on artificial foods provided for ungulates. Preliminary results showed that parasite load was higher at artificial feeding sites, particularly in autumn, and this may influence the health of bears. Artificial food, mostly corn and beetroots, is a type of fast food that does not meet all nutritional needs of bears. We collected bear scats in Tatra and Bieszczady Mountains to measure nitrogen and carbon content, which are indicators of the nutritional quality of the food. Poor nutrition levels can cause stress, and this is why we also measured the concentration of metabolites of cortisol, a stress hormone. We found that the diet of bears in Bieszczady, where artificial feeding is common, was of lower quality than in Tatra. Quality markers were not only higher in scats from Tatra bears, but also varied seasonally, similar to fecal cortisol, that is, kept the natural rhythm and seasonality. We also collected bear hair in the field with the help of hair traps and analyzed the stable isotope composition to disentangle how much artificial food is represented in their diet. Stable isotopes can be used as markers to track how much of these artificial foods are assimilated into the bear's body. We found that about 20% of the bear diet in Bieszczady is corn. We also detected a general increasing trend in the share of artificial foods in bear diet in the last decades in Poland and Croatia, which may be related to a high number of bears in both countries that are conditioned to consume artificial foods. When tracking stress levels, food quality and exposure to pathogens become the routine procedure in population monitoring. Changes in the environment could be detected early enough to apply proper conservation measures. This project represents a contribution in this direction and may reveal brown bears as sentinels of changes in the environment.